The unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect truth is seldom met with, even in 100,000 myriad kalpas. Now we can see and hear it. We can remember and accept it. I vow to make the Buddha's truth one with myself. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha. So I wanted to talk this morning about fearlessness. And I can't say I can give an exhaustive treatment of the subject, but I have a few thoughts I can pass along and that I've been considering myself. I want to talk about fearlessness, particularly in the context of the pandemic. But what I have to say, I think, is applicable to any other crisis or difficulty that we find ourselves in. In regard to the pandemic, I haven't heard anyone, either in the community or order or just in general, talk about fearlessness. And that's a treasure that we all have within ourselves. And it may be that we've all been taking it for granted that we have it, or just we have it, we don't recognize that we have it. But it's definitely there as a treasure. As monks, at least, we're all familiar with the alms verse, which talks about the two kinds of merit, material and spiritual. Material goods, spiritual teaching. But in some places of the scriptures, it talks about a third type of dana, or offering, or charity, and that's the offering of fearlessness. Let me hasten to say I'm not advocating anyone relax their guard in relation to the pandemic. Experts say the next month or so will be critical in stopping the spread of the virus. So please wear your masks, wash your hands, stay at home if you can, maintain social distancing, do all the things we've been recommended to follow. Even if we do all these things, there's no guarantee that that will prevent contracting the disease. Even when the vaccine becomes available, and that looks like it's going to be soon, it's only, one of them at least, is only 90% effective. So in a community like ours of 20 people, there's 2 of us that will not benefit from that protection. And that's where fearlessness comes in. It makes up that other 10%. Reverend Master Jiu taught us, trusting God and tie your camel. I think with the virus we have to tie our camel extra tight, okay? Put a double knot on it. And then we trust, we have faith, we can offer fearlessness. Whether that's offering that as monks, as Buddhists, or anyone who has a spiritual practice, there's a element of protection there. There's a Buddhist saying that when we train, the Dharma protects those who practice the Dharma. Now how that works, I don't know. It seems to be a combination of merit, of faith, of mindfulness. As I think about fearlessness, it's a combination of equanimity, of faith, of clarity, which leads to wisdom and seeing things as they really are. When we see things as they really are, we don't ignore the conditions in which we find ourselves, but we add that other little element of faith in there, the protection that the Dharma offers. In Theravadan Buddhism, from what I understand, they even have chants that are particularly, they're called protective chants, and people use them for protection, chant them for protection. We do a similar thing when we call on Achalanata for help, for stillness, or call on Avalokiteshvara for compassion, or call on Sambo Kojin or other guardians for protection. We somehow activate the potential merit that is there. As I said, part of that merit is produced by our own mindfulness, our remembering to wear the mask and wash our hands and do those things. It gives us a certain amount of intuition. You know, we listen to that, and if something is saying don't go into a particular place, if something is giving you a red flag warning, we'll heed that. We're not oblivious to the conditions in which we find ourselves. We're just listening to something in addition to what we take in with our senses. Religion is a matter of an X factor. So there's the X factor in this help. And that X factor we can't define. And that's what it makes it religion, if you will, and not philosophy. Okay? We allow the opportunity for the X factor to function. And we can trust that X factor. There's no guarantee, but definitely it lessens the likelihood of contracting the disease. We can afford to be fearless. Fearlessness is this refuge in the Dharma, the unborn, undying, uncreated, unchanging. Or Master G would add indestructible to that list. Okay, there's something that can't be destroyed. This was a saying that Shakyamuni gave in the Udana scripture, and that's our ultimate refuge, which we all have already. We have it within us. And say we do get sick. Okay, this particular virus is a tricky character. It can be asymptomatic. It can manifest differently for different people. Maybe we'll only get a mild case if we contract it. And if it's serious, well, we deal with it as we would any other disease or contagious illness. We take extra precautions to prevent the spread of the virus. We do the things that are recommended. But even then, doing all those things, there's no guarantee. We can lessen the likelihood of our catching the disease, and out of compassion, we do that as well, because these measures that we take are not just to protect ourselves, but are to protect others. And who knows, maybe if we get the disease, we'll recover. You know, we hear about all the people who are dying of COVID, but there's a number of people who are recovering, and apparently the recovery rate is greater now than it was in the beginning. If the illness turns serious, we can look at it as one of the 4 divine messengers that Shakyamuni Buddha saw when he rode outside the palace. He saw old age, illness, death, and then of course he saw a monk, someone who was practicing. So it's a good reminder of the transiency of human life. Maybe it's because I'm turning 65 this year, but that little quote we include in some of our different ceremonies that reads, "Time flies like an arrow from a bow." For me at least, and I imagine perhaps for many of you, it's literal. It's not just a simile. Time flies that quickly. It's just, before we turn around, we're a year older. We're a year again. So our time is, I think we're on a limited shelf life. Okay, so we will expire, and some of us are closer to that expiration date than others, and none of us know who's next. As Reverend Master Haryo said in a talk he did to us, there's a queue, and we're all in that queue, but we don't know who's going to be next. And say we do die. Okay, isn't that why we train? To have a peaceful death and a victorious life, as Reverend Master Ji said. Death comes to all. It's another one of the heavenly messengers. They say death is certain, all else is uncertain. How, where, when, etc. We don't know, but we know that death is certain. We can do nothing really ultimately except accept that, but that's a big acceptance. If it's our time to go, if our reproductive karma has run out, there's nothing anyone can do except to be fearless. Okay? reminded of Reverend Master Daisui when he was dying from leukemia. They took extraordinary measures to save his life, but they all proved ineffective. And at one point, he just accepted that it was his time to go. And those who had the opportunity to be around him in the last week of his life can remember how radiant he was and how positive he was. And that can be the same for us. We can each do the same. It may not be as dramatic as the case with him, but we can all do that. We can cultivate fearlessness, and we can do that in our daily life. Where Master Ji used to say that a kensho, a religious experience, was a dummy run for death. Now, we might be sitting here and say, well, I'm not having a kensho, or that's only for people who are advanced practitioners. Well, actually, we're all in the process of having a kensho. Okay, once we sit down to meditate, we set the gears in motion for an experience of the eternal. It may not happen until we die. And it said that we all have a moment right there at the moment of death to go straight into the arms of the eternal. It doesn't last very long. It lasts for just a second from what the scriptures say. So we're all in this dummy run for death, and none of us know when it's coming. So we have to work hard and train to the best of our ability now, because we don't know when that dummy run's going to run out. I wanted to read just a couple of things from Reverend Master Ji. First from the Kyoju Kaimon commentary, in which she emphasizes this treasure, this element within us that we can draw on and take refuge in. She says, and she's commenting on Dogen's writing on the precepts of Kyoju Kaimon. The highest truth is called the Buddha treasure, the knowledge of that which is, the knowledge of the unformed, uncreated, unborn, undying, indestructible, the certainty without doubt of its existence, the knowledge of it within oneself, the Buddha living within oneself, the Lord of the house who directs all things. And then later she writes, most houses can do with a thorough sweeping, but even 1,000,000 sweepings will not clear away the dust completely. Thus man remains in his body and accepts it, knowing that nothing matters, that he is immaculate, always was, and always will be. This is the immaculacy of the Dharma treasure. And then later on, when she's talking about one of the 10 precepts, she writes, every person, every being is the temple of the Lord, wherein the Lord dwells, the still water wherein the dragon lives. Our body is a temple for the dragon. The dragon shows up also in Dogen's Rules for Meditation. As he says, do not doubt the dragon. Do not spend so much time in rubbing only a part of the elephant. Look within and advance directly along the road that leads to the mind. Respect those who have reached the goallessness. Become one with the wisdom of the Buddhas. Transmit the wisdom of the ancestors. If you do these things for some time, you will become as herein described, and then the treasure house will open naturally, and you will enjoy it fully. that treasure house is the treasure of fearlessness. And you may think, well, I haven't been practicing very long. That's kind of beyond me. But actually, it's not. And as Dogen says in the Shoshogi, no matter how much time we've wasted up to now, live now without evil, live now and know the Lord of the house. In the Shoshogi, he puts it in that last chapter of the Shoshogi. Time flies quicker than an arrow, and life passes with greater transience than dew. Should you live for 100 years just wasting your time, every day and month will be filled with sorrow. Yet, if you live truly for only so much as a single day, you will in that one day not only live 100 years of life, but also save 100 years of your future life. The life of this one day today is absolutely vital life. Your body is deeply significant. Both your life and your body deserve love and respect, for it is by their agency that truth is practiced and the Buddha's power exhibited. The seed of all Buddhist activity and of all Buddhahood is the true practice of preceptual truth. So, no matter where we are on the path of training, what's important is just to get on with it. I can remember one time when I had spiritual counseling with Reverend Master Ji, and I was going on and on about how hard my karma was, how difficult it was. And she finally just kind of looked at me and interrupted me and said, well, we'll get weaving, okay? Oh, well, we get on with it. We don't dwell on our past mistakes, and that's a common thing for many of us to do. But we need to kind of accept the karmic consequences of what we've done and move on, because our time is flying away, and we don't want to waste any of our time. So that's what I had to offer today. It's kind of short. I'm known for long talks, but I'm going to break the mold today and end there, and hope that something I've offered is of help in developing your own fearlessness of knowing that there's something within you that is indestructible, and doesn't stand in opposition to taking any kind of caution that we need to. But there is that fearlessness that we can all draw on, that refuge within ourselves. So thank you.